Here we are at Bauma, the world's largest construction equipment show, with Stefan Uppenberg. So, Stefan, perhaps you could explain your role at WSP as a consultant?
Yeah, I work with sustainability issues in the infrastructure sector, mostly with the Swedish Transport Administration as a client for developing tools and ways of working with how to put up requirements for carbon reductions and things like that. But I also work in an industry collaboration project called Sustainable Infrastructure within the Sweden Green Building Council. And there we, together in the business, contractors, consultants and the clients, try to enhance and make it easier to use tools for like carbon calculations, like sustainability assessment systems. So that's mainly what I do.
So talking about the Sweden Green Building Council, people think they only talk about buildings, but in fact they've got a wider scope, as you just outlined.
Yes. The Transport Administration and the industry together, like contractors, consultants, asked Sweden Green Building Council, are you interested in providing a platform for sustainability issues within the infrastructure sector? And well, after some thinking, they accepted it and thought that it's a normal, it's in line with what we do to broaden the scope of sustainability within the building sector to also include the infrastructure, the things, all the space and all the roads and other infrastructure that is between the buildings. So that's been a process, but it's quite new, so it's not really. There are some difficulties to merging those two sectors together. You can think that it's the same companies working with these things, but there are different cultures and different people working with it. So it's a process going on. Yeah.
Across the entire life cycle, what has the biggest impact on carbon emissions?
Yeah. There are lots of things, but quite new to many people. It might be that it's not emissions from vehicles, from machinery, from excavators and haulers and things like that. It's actually the materials that has the biggest impact. It's often more than 50% of the carbon emissions from a project. And then we talk about the concrete, concrete used for bridges and also cement for injection in building tunnels, but also steel for reinforcement and construction, asphalt and things like that. So that is a quite big part of the emissions. But then of course vehicles for construction equipment and lorries and things like that is also a significant part, but maybe 20-25% or something like that. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you work a lot with the Swedish National Transport Administration.
Yeah.
What role do they play in achieving reductions in carbon emissions?
Yeah. Of course they have a very important role because they are a client and they have a responsibility to set up requirements that would lead the development in the right direction. And quite recently they have introduced requirements for reductions from a life cycle perspective for all infrastructure projects in Sweden, because they also have a responsibility to contribute to reaching the national goals, the national climate goals, that is no net emissions by the year 2050. So, and they have seen that in order to reach this we have to introduce new reduction goals because there aren't any regulations today. So they have taken this responsibility, I think in a very good way now, are introducing requirements, telling the industry we want you to do this, but not telling them in detail how to do it.
So they lay down the challenge for the industry to respond to. How do you think the industry should go about doing that?
Well, I think there's quite a lot of enthusiasm within the industry, because many of the contractors that we have in Sweden, like Skanska and others, they have worked with these issues for quite a long time. They have produced their own carbon footprint calculations, and they have tried to get some sort of incentives for, like, showing the Transport Administration, look how good we are, can't we get more money for this? But they haven't really succeeded in that. But now there are tools in place, and they're quite happy about this. And now it's up to them to show that they can deliver on this also. So I think it's a very positive feeling. Yeah.
So really, the industry responds, needs a lot of collaboration along its supply chain to come up with the right solutions to meet the new targets.
Yeah. And it's very important with this interaction between different parts of the supply chain, because the consultants and the contractors have the contractors can't do everything, because the consultants in the planning and in connection with the contractors can find new innovative ways of building bridges, or of planning for using less resources, and for shortening distances of transport and so on. And also there's a lot of collaboration going on between contractors and suppliers of materials, of course, because to fulfill the requirements from transport administration, they have to include also low carbon materials. So the contractors have to be sure that they can deliver low carbon asphalt, for example. So they have to establish those relations. So I think it's a very good way of driving this forward.
And we know there are a number of different rating systems, both for building performance but also for infrastructure. What role can rating systems play in driving down emissions?
It's interesting because all of this, there are some systems available, like SQL and in other countries, in Australia there are other systems, but they all include this way of working with the carbon issue. You have to the systems require, in order to get high points and good rewards in the end, you have to make calculations for baseline, identify actions to reduce the emissions, and then most important in the end, to be able to show how you have implemented these reductions. So using those systems, you automatically get some framework for working with these issues. And it's quite in line with how the requirements are now formulated from the Transport Administration. So I think they can add value to this in a very good way. Yeah.
And just a question on your carbon tool.
Yeah.
That's obviously projecting what the carbon emissions will be for a particular project.
Yeah.
What level of accuracy do you think you're achieving on that?
Well,
have you measured that?
That's a very interesting question, and it depends. I would actually say that the accuracy is not very important. Maybe that sounds very, very strange, but in early phases, you have to be able to make some sort of a good guess of the estimation. Of course, it can't be several hundred percentages wrong, but if you get the right level between different parts or the relation between different parts of the project, and then if you use the same tool for looking what actions have we made, then you get a relative calculation that should be quite okay, even if you don't have the accuracy that is 100%. So we will never reach that, but I think the most important thing is to start working with this and to start doing the actions. Yeah.
So it's not the exact measurement that's important,
no, exactly.
It's making sure we move in the right direction.
Exactly.
And we get started now.
Yeah, we do.
Excellent.
We do, yeah.
That's good. Okay, Stefan, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.